Mexico has the 15th largest economy in the world. It has a standing army, a federal police force, an entire national guard. It has received billions of dollars in anti-narcotics aid from the United States. And yet, for the last 30 years, it has not been able to win a single war against its cartels. Not the Gulf Cartel, not the Zetas, not the Sinaloa Cartel, not the CJNG. The question is no longer, can Mexico defeat the cartels? The real question is, does Mexico even have a state capable of trying? In parts 1 and 2, we traced the rise of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, from a band of outcasts in the shadow of the Sinaloa Empire to the most feared criminal organization on the planet. We saw El Mencho build his empire, and we saw him fall. In part 3, the final chapter, we ask the question that nobody in power wants to answer. Can Mexico ever win? And if it can't, what happens next? To understand why Mexico struggles, you have to understand what the cartels actually are. They are not just criminal organizations. They are parallel governments in hundreds of municipalities across Mexico, especially in states like Jalisco, Michoacán, Guerrero, and Zacatecas. The cartel is the law. It collects taxes. It controls who enters and who leaves. It mediates local disputes. It funds public works. It recruits children as young as 12. In some villages, residents haven't seen a federal official in years, but they see cartel enforcers every single day. And this is the core of the problem. Mexico has roughly 2,000 municipalities. Experts estimate that organized crime has infiltrated the local governments of at least half of them, through corruption, intimidation, or both. Mayors who refuse to cooperate don't last long. In 2024 alone, 11 sitting mayors were assassinated across Mexico. When the state and the cartel become indistinguishable, winning a war against one means dismantling the other. Corruption in Mexico isn't an anomaly. It's the infrastructure. At the federal level, investigators have documented cartel payments reaching generals, judges, prosecutors, and customs officials. The most striking example, Genaro Garcia Luna, Mexico's former Secretary of Public Security, the country's top cop, was convicted in New York in 2023 of taking millions in bribes from the Sinaloa cartel. He ran the nation's entire anti-narcotics strategy. He was on the payroll of the people he was supposed to be hunting. The CJNG operated the same way. Court documents from U.S. federal cases have shown cartel payments flowing to state police commanders, military officers, and port officials who looked the other way as tons of fentanyl precursors passed through Manzanillo. And the problem doesn't stop at the border. In the United States, between 2005 and 2023, over 200 law enforcement officers were convicted of taking cartel bribes. Customs agents, border patrol officers, local police. The cartels don't just buy protection, they buy entire institutional ecosystems. Mexico has tried repeatedly to break the cartels. The military approach. In 2006, President Felipe Calderón declared all-out war. He deployed 45,000 soldiers to the streets. The result? Over 100,000 people killed in 6 years. The cartels didn't weaken. They fragmented and multiplied. The kingpin strategy: capture or kill the top leaders, decapitate the organization. El Chapo was arrested twice. The Sinaloa cartel kept running. Heriberto Lascano, founder of the Zetas, was killed in 2012. The Zetas kept running. They even grew. El Mencho is dead. The CJNG is still standing. Taking out the leadership doesn't destroy the network. It just triggers a power struggle, which produces more violence. The hugs, not bullets approach. President López Obrador tried the opposite. reduce poverty, address root causes, don't provoke the cartels. The result? Mexico recorded its highest ever homicide rate, over 33,000 murders in a single year. And when his own soldiers captured El Chapo's son in 2019, the cartel surrounded them with hundreds of armed men. The government released him to prevent a massacre. No approach has worked. Because every approach treats the symptom, not the disease. Some experts argue that the only real path forward isn't military, it's institutional. Build courts that can't be bought. Build a police force that is paid enough, trained enough, and protected enough to resist cartel recruitment. Build an economy in rural Mexico that gives young men a choice beyond the cartel or poverty. This is not a short-term solution. It would take a generation, possibly two. And it requires something Mexico has never been able to sustain, political will that outlasts one administration. Others argue the answer lies across the border. The United States consumes more drugs than any country on the planet. American demand funds the entire CJNG operation. American weapons, bought legally at gun stores in Texas and Arizona, flow south in their thousands every year and arm cartel soldiers. Without addressing demand, and without stopping weapons trafficking northward, every military operation south of the border is just rearranging the problem. Then there is a third argument, darker and increasingly whispered, that the Mexican state has already lost the war, that parts of Mexico are functionally ungovernable, that the only question left is how to manage the cartels, not how to defeat them. In April 2026, a leaked U.S. intelligence assessment reportedly described 3 Mexican states as effectively co-governed by organized crime. The Mexican government denied it, but nobody was surprised. Here is what we know. El Mencho is dead, but the CJNG operates in 40 countries. Its franchise model doesn't need a single leader to function. Its fentanyl supply chains stretch from Chinese chemical plants to Mexican labs to American streets, and the demand never stops growing. The internal power struggle is real. Violence between CJNG factions has already spiked in Jalisco and Guanajuato since February 2026. But history tells us this is temporary. A new structure will emerge. It always does. What may be different this time is the level of international scrutiny the cartel now faces. The U.S. Foreign Terrorist Organization designation has real teeth. It allows the Treasury to sanction anyone doing business with the CJNG, banks, shell companies, law firms, real estate developers. That is a different kind of pressure than sending soldiers into the mountains. Whether it's enough, nobody knows yet. The Jalisco New Generation Cartel didn't win because it was stronger than the state. It won because it understood something the state refused to admit, that the real battlefield isn't in the mountains. It's in the courthouses, the police stations, the municipal offices, the ports, the banks. El Mencho is buried in Zapopan, but the system that built him, the poverty, the corruption, the demand, is still very much alive. Mexico is not lost, but it is at a crossroads it has been standing at for 30 years. The next chapter won't be written by a cartel boss. It will be written by whether Mexico and its allies finally decide to fight the right war. If this series changed how you see Mexico and organized crime, subscribe. In part 4, we go even deeper. The fentanyl supply chain from a lab in Sinaloa.